Hi, I'm Kate Strong, and I'm going to present the final case study, Volkswagen Emission Scandal and How It Happened. These are the 6 areas I'm going to cover today. To give a quick summary of the case, Volkswagen started in the 1930s. Ferdinand Porsche, who designed the iconic Volkswagen Beetle, which became the best-selling single car design in history, and allowed Volkswagen to become one of the top automakers in the world, and also one of Europe's most popular car brands. But despite all the success that Volkswagen had, it struggled in the US auto market. And in 2007, Volkswagen announced its plan to achieve world domination in the car market with creating clean diesel engines and to increase the sales in the US. However, in 2015, Volkswagen was caught committing fraud by having their cars use defeat devices which allowed them to cheat through emissions tests. Volkswagen now faces a problem, and to ensure that Volkswagen does not practice unethical behavior that will lead to fraudulent acts in the future, we must examine the company as a whole to see how Volkswagen ended up in this situation. The issues that led Volkswagen to be involved in this emissions scandal come from ineffective management, the US market, and Strategy 2018. The criteria I've selected to examine this case is ineffective management, the US market, and Strategy 2018. These 3 issues directly relate to one another, and this effect runs a vigorous cycle that will lead to further issues if changes are not made. This brings me to my first criteria we are going to examine. Volkswagen upper management is ineffective, and one of the biggest reasons is due to its structure. Volkswagen is governed by a strange mix of family control, government ownership, and labor influence, which leads to poor decision-making because of conflict of interest, biased decisions, and overall dysfunction. Ineffective management can also be traced back to former CEO Martin Winterkorn and his leadership style. He was said to have ruled with an iron fist and had high expectations and demanded that they were met no matter what it took. Volkswagen's upper management has a strong desire to be number one in everything, and they will do anything it takes as long as they are number one, and they will not ask questions on how they got there. This desire leads to unethical decision-making. The ineffective management from upper management, the CEO, and desire to be number one has contributed to the overall problem Volkswagen is facing. The next criteria that we are going to evaluate is the US market. Volkswagen must evaluate their competitors, emissions regulations, and price to be able to compete. Volkswagen must create a strategy that sets them apart from other top competitors in the US market, and it leads them to creating the clean diesel engines at an affordable price with high performance, with the goal of targeting the environmentally cautious market in the US. And the most common cars used in the US have gas engines because of price, while in Europe, the diesel engines are more common because of government incentives and looser regulations. The US has the EPA, and they enforce strict emissions regulations on the amount of pollutions a car can emit because of the negative lasting impacts on the environment, which is why it was shocking when Volkswagen's clean diesel engines had passed the strict US emissions regulations, since no other competitor had been able to do that before. Volkswagen tends to have their car price way higher than competitors in the US market, and consumers will be drawn to purchasing the less expensive cars with similar qualities, which leads to the strategy of releasing a new line of affordable cars with the clean diesel engines. And having this strategy being used will be a key selling point that will increase sales. This brings me to my third criteria, Strategy 2018, which includes different goals for Volkswagen to reach for it to be the most successful car manufacturer in the world by 2018. And a key component of this plan is creating clean diesel engines. Clean diesel is highly refined fuel to improve the efficiency and reduce the harmful emissions. With this engine, Volkswagen cars could use the environmental credentials as a new selling feature and target the US environmentally cautious market, which would increase the sales in the US and overtake competitors like GM and Toyota to become the world's best car maker. In this strategy came with tight deadlines and immense pressure to deliver promises of a redesigned engine. When the engine was not able to pass the emissions test, upper management pressured the engineers to deliver and told them to make it happen. Due to this pressure the engineers faced, it led to unethical decision-making and creating a defeat device to cheat through emissions regulations. This software detects when cars are going through emissions tests and will adjust the pollutant controls to allow them to pass. It allowed for Volkswagen cars to pass through emissions tests for years. Strategy 2018 was the most significant contributor to the overall problem Volkswagen is facing. The action plan that I have created is to ensure that Volkswagen does not commit fraud and practice unethical behavior in the future. The first short-term action is for Volkswagen to enroll upper management and board members in an online leadership training program. This action is intended to create more structure among upper management and board members and lead to better decision-making that will benefit the company as a whole. This will be completed within 3 months, and the course only is 3 days long. The impact will be measured by watching the effective leadership coming from upper management and board members, and the company's growth rates increase. That brings me to my second short-term action, to have Volkswagen CEO attend an in-person leadership program that is specifically designed for CEOs who are looking to improve. The intended impact of this action is the CEO will be able to make better decisions, improve communication, and strategically plan for the future of Volkswagen. This will be completed within the next 6 months in a 2-day in-person program in New York City. The results of this action will be seen 3 months after the training is completed, and this will be measured by having employees rank leadership skills after the course completion and lead to more effective communication and leadership with management. Moving on to the first long-term action is for Volkswagen to conduct a biannual employee training that educates and informs all employees on the company's social responsibility. The impact of this action is to ensure that all Volkswagen employees are following the company's social responsibilities, and this training will be created within the next 6 months and sent out to all employees every 6 months for them to complete. The impact will be measured by watching the increase of company broad awareness of social responsibilities and company values and create more products that will leave more positive impact on the environment. The second long-term action is creating a more transparent environment within the company, and the intended impact is to gain the trust and respect from employees. Everybody will feel heard, and decisions are being made in the best interest of the company whole. Results will be able to be seen within 6 months after all of upper management has completed their training course, and full implementation after 2 years. This impact will be measured by having every employee fill out leadership evaluation to track any changes in Volkswagen management and higher employee engagement. Wrapping this up, if Volkswagen successfully carries out the action plan, it will be able to ensure Volkswagen's future will not practice unethical behavior that will lead to fraudulent acts, with fixing these issues and ineffective management, the U.S. market, and Strategy 2018. Thank you, and have a nice day.